The desert was quiet that evening. Too quiet, even for New Mexico. The sun hung low above the red horizon, spilling fire across a land that had taken as much as it had ever given. And right there, at the place locals whispered about, Elkhorn Junction, a woman sat on horseback as if the whole weight of fate had settled on her shoulders. Her name was Elara Morrow, a widow, a fighter, a woman who had lost almost everything except the last fragile piece of her courage. Two roads split before her, one toward justice, one toward escape. And the desert winds waited to hear which path she would choose. Elara's mare shifted beneath her, restless. She had been standing there for almost 20 minutes, staring at the two dusty trails like they were two different versions of her future. To the south lay Redwater, where Marshal Rowan Hale waited for her to testify against the Beckett brothers, the ruthless men who had burned her home to ash and bone. To the north towered the Sangre Peaks, and beyond them, her sister's cabin in Colorado, a place where she could disappear and pretend none of this had ever happened. But the smoke from her ruined homestead still curled behind her. She could smell it. She could feel the sting of it in her eyes. Justice whispered, "Ride south." Survival whispered, "Run." A soft tremor ran through her hands. Inside her pocket rested Dalton Morrow's badge, her late husband's deputy star. The last piece of him she carried. Her throat tightened. "Dalton," she whispered, "what would you have me do?" The desert answered with silence, then hoofbeats, slow, measured, confident. A shadow stretched across the ground beside her, just as a deep, warm voice broke the quiet. "Ma'am, you look like someone deciding whether to live brave or die quiet." Elara turned and saw him. The rider was tall, broad-shouldered, sun-browned, and carried the kind of presence only a man who had stared down countless storms could possess. His horse, a golden palomino, moved with a grace that said it cost more than most men earned in a year. The stranger tipped his hat. "Name's Silas Kane," he said, voice rich as aged whiskey. "I own the Iron River Ranch, about 8 miles yonder." He studied her carefully, not judging, not prying, just seeing. "You're Elara Morrow," he said softly. "Word's travelin'. And I heard yours was the kind of trouble a person shouldn't face alone." Her grip tightened on the reins. Silas dismounted with one fluid motion and offered her a canteen without stepping too close. A kindness disguised beneath respect. "I heard what the Beckett boys did," he said. "What they bragged about in the saloon. Made me sick." Elara looked down, her voice scraped out. "I'm supposed to testify, but if I do, I might not live long enough to finish the trial." Silas nodded, not surprised. "It's a hell of a crossroads, Miss Morrow." He glanced at the two roads. "One leads to justice, one leads to safety, but neither one ought to be walked alone." She swallowed. "Why do you care? You don't even know me." That was when his eyes changed. Something old, painful, and honest flickered through them. 7 years ago, Silas said quietly, I had a partner in Kansas City, a man I trusted. Turned out he was using my name to cheat investors out of their life savings. He looked away for a moment. I had two choices: expose him and lose everything, or stay quiet and let good people suffer. He met her eyes again. I chose right, lost everything, spent 3 years digging out of debt. Then he gestured at the horizon, built the Iron River from nothing but grit and stubborn will. He stepped back, giving her space. So believe me when I say, I know what it means to choose between right and safe. Silas then offered the thing that would change both their lives. You testify, I'll protect you. You stay at Iron River till the trial's done. no Beckett will come near you without riding through 30 armed men first. Elara breathed in sharply. That wasn't an offer you heard in this territory. And definitely not from a man like him. She stared down the road to Redwater. If she rode that way, there would be no turning back. Her heart hammered, but she made her choice. "Take me to Marshall Hale," she whispered. "And after that, take me to Iron River." Silas smiled. A small, quiet thing, but it lit the air between them. "Then follow me home, Miss Morrow." The town of Redwater was tense, staring, whispering. Every face Elara saw seemed to wonder whether she would survive long enough to do what she'd come to do. But Marshall Rowan Hale, a man with gray hair, tired eyes, and a spine carved of iron, stood tall as he took her statement. "You understand what this means," he said quietly. "The Becketts have friends, they have money, they have fear on their side." Elara answered, voice steady. "I've been running since the night they burned my home. I'm done running." When the last word left her lips, something settled inside her. A weight, yes, but also a kind of peace. Silas touched his hat. "Time to get you someplace safe." They rode northwest into a growing dusk, and Iron River Ranch rose before them like a small kingdom. Lantern lights glowed warm from a wide main house with wraparound porches. Barns, stables, bunkhouses. An entire working empire sprawled beneath cottonwood trees. Even in darkness, Elara could feel the pulse of life in this place. The rhythm of men who worked hard and earned every mouthful they ate. Elias Ward, the foreman, met them as they dismounted. Weathered, bow-legged, with a scar that cut across his jaw. "Boss," he greeted Silas, then tipped his hat toward Elara. "Ma'am, we'll take care of you here." Maeve, the housekeeper, ushered Elara inside, pressing warm bread into her hands as if the simple act of offering food could stitch a broken spirit back together. "You're safe now," Maeve said softly. "Rest. There'll be time for strength tomorrow." And for the first night since the fire, Elara slept without fear. Days turned into a week. Iron River worked like clockwork. Silas woke before dawn, checking fence lines, water, cattle. His men respected him in the quiet way good leaders are respected. No shouting, no fear, just trust. Elara tried to help where she could. She learned to stir beef stew in Maeve's kitchen. She brushed down the horses with Elias. And one afternoon, while searching for a place to put fresh linens, she stumbled upon a stack of ranch ledgers. The numbers were wrong. Expenses inflated, horse sales underpriced, supplier contracts showing suspicious fluctuations. Her brow furrowed. Someone was siphoning money from the ranch. She spent 3 hours reorganizing the books, cross-checking invoices, rebuilding a system the ranch desperately needed. That evening, she knocked on Silas's office door. He looked up from his desk, eyes tired. "Everything all right?" he asked. Instead of answering, she set the reorganized ledgers in front of him. Silas blinked, then blinked again. "Elara?" He turned a few pages, then a few more. Shock slowly shifted into awe. "Where did you learn all this?" "My father was a bookkeeper," she murmured. "He taught me numbers before letters." Silas leaned back in his chair, the lamplight softening across his face. "This," he whispered, "is brilliant." Elara flushed. "It's nothing. It's everything." His voice was warm, real. "I could use a mind like yours. If you're willing, I'd like you to handle Iron River's accounts. Real pay, real position." She hesitated. "I'm already accepting your charity." Silas shook his head. "This isn't charity. This is me hiring the smartest person that's walked through my doors in years." Elara felt something stir in her chest, something like belonging. "All right," she said softly. "For now."
Silas smiled, and that smile would follow her into her dreams for nights to come. It happened on a Tuesday. Elara was balancing transaction logs in Silas's office when Elias burst inside. "Boss, it's Finn." Finn Calder, the youngest guard, barely 19, sweet, eager, bright-eyed. "What happened?" Silas barked. "His horse came back alone," Elias said.
"Saddle stained with blood. Found tracks at Copper Creek. 3, maybe 4 riders. They dragged him off, trailhead straight toward Beckett land." Silas grabbed his gun belt. "I'm going." Elara stepped in front of him without thinking. "No." Silas froze. "Elara, move." "No." Her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. "That's exactly what they want. If you ride in there alone, they'll kill you and claim you trespassed." He clenched his jaw. "I won't let them hurt Finn. And I won't let them kill you." For the first time since Silas Kane had appeared at Elkhorn Junction, fear flashed in his eyes. Not for himself, but for her. "Elara," he breathed. She took a small step closer. "If you die, Iron River dies. Your men die. And Her voice cracked. "I can't lose another good man to this territory." The confession hung like dust in a shaft of sunlight. Silas exhaled slowly, broken, torn, furious, but listening. "Send word to Marshal Hale," she whispered. "Do this legally. Don't let them turn you into prey." Elias added quietly, "She's right, boss. This smells like a trap." Silas shut his eyes for a moment, then nodded. "Get a rider to Redwater." His voice shook slightly. "Triple the guards. No one leaves the ranch alone." 3 agonizing hours later, Marshal Hale arrived with deputies. They rode into Beckett territory with legal authority. Finn Calder was found tied to a support beam inside an abandoned equipment shed. Beaten, bruised, barely conscious, but alive. When he saw Silas, his split lip quivered. "They asked about Iron River," he whispered.
"And where Miss Elara sleeps. Wanted to know your guard rotations. Said if you didn't throw her out, they'd finish what they started with her husband." Silas went white. Elara felt something sickening twist inside her. The Becketts hadn't just been after land. They wanted silence, control, power, and now, revenge. Marshal Hale's face hardened. "They're desperate," he said. "This makes their crimes even easier to prove." But Elara knew the danger wasn't over. Desperation made men violent, and men like the Becketts did not go quietly. 6 days later, the courthouse overflowed. Every bench filled, people crowded the aisles, whispers thickened the air. When Elara took the stand, the room stilled. She wore a simple blue dress. Nothing fancy. Her hair pulled back, Dalton's badge tucked deep in her pocket. The prosecutor, Amos Fletcher, guided her through her testimony. She told everything: the threats, the torches, the laughter. But the defense attorney, slick, polished, arrogant, tried to break her. "Isn't it true," he said, voice dripping false sympathy, "that grief may have warped your perception?" Elara met his gaze steadily. "Grief didn't set my house on fire." Her voice was a blade. "They did?" The crowd murmured. Even the judge's eyebrows rose. The attorney tried again. "You claim you saw them clearly during sunset. Perhaps you were mistaken?" Elara leaned forward, her voice low, controlled. "Mistake is leaving a lamp burning. Mistake is misplacing a saddle. 3 armed men throwing torches into my home is not a mistake, sir. It's murder." A ripple ran through the courtroom. She didn't try to embellish, didn't raise her voice. Just told the truth, with the power of someone who had nothing left to lose. Finn testified. Elias testified. Maeve testified. Victims from other homesteads testified. Families Beckett had threatened, bullied, destroyed. Then something unexpected happened. During cross-examination, Jace Beckett, the eldest, lost control. He slammed his fists on the table. "We should have finished her when we had the chance." The courtroom exploded. Judge Hale thundered with his gavel, but the damage was done. No jury alive would ignore that. 4 hours later, the jury returned, and one by one, their verdicts echoed. Guilty, 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 on every count. Arson, extortion, attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. The Beckett brothers were sentenced to 20 years of hard labor. Their properties seized, their power dismantled.
Their reign ended. As they were dragged away, Maddox spat toward Elara. "This ain't over, widow!" But his voice trembled. Fear. For the first time, Elara didn't flinch. It was over. Maybe not for them, but for her. The rebuilt homestead stood taller than it ever had before. Stone chimney, wide porch, real glass windows, corrals rebuilt. A fresh well, a sturdy barn. Life had returned. Elara sat on the porch, watching evening settle over the valley. Maeve brought lemonade. "You're thinking deep," she said warmly. Elara smiled. "Just remembering who I was this time last year." "Lost?" Maeve asked. Elara nodded. "And now?" "Found." Hoofbeats sounded. Silas Kane rode up, dusty from a long day, sunset behind him like the world was painting him gold. He joined her on the porch. "Place looks good," he said.
"It does," she whispered. Hard to believe it was ashes. He took her hand gently. "You're good at rebuilding, Elara. You take broken things and make them better than before." Her heart warmed. Silas wasn't a man of flowery speech, which made every word matter more. They watched the sunset in silence, Elara leaning her head on his shoulder. Then Silas stood slowly. "I got something to ask you," he murmured. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, but instead of kneeling, he turned toward the horizon. "Elkhorn Junction," he said. "That's where your life split, where you chose courage over fear." He looked at her with the gentlest vulnerability she had ever seen in a man. "And that's where I want our life to join." Elara's eyes blurred. "Silas?" He opened the box. A gold ring, a small sapphire. "Simple, honest, real. I love you, Elara Morrow. I want you not because you need protection, but because you make me a better man." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Yes," she whispered, "I choose you. I choose this life. I choose us." Silas pulled her into his arms, kissed her forehead, and held her long enough for the world to settle. Late that night, lanterns flickered across Iron River. Crickets hummed. The wind carried the scent of pine. And somewhere far away, the ruins of her old life rested in silence. But Elara no longer looked back. The crossroads had tested her. The desert had stripped her bare. The Becketts had tried to break her. Yet here she stood, alive, loved, reborn. Strength wasn't the absence of fear. It was choosing what was right even when fear held a knife to your throat. And she had chosen right. Silas walked out to join her on the porch, lifting her hand to his lips. "Ready to go home?" he asked. Elara smiled softly. "I already am." They rode side by side beneath a sky full of stars, a cowboy and the woman who had changed his life. A widow who found her courage again. Two souls who met at a crossroads and chose each other. The desert watched them go, quiet and vast and eternal. And for the first time in a long time, Elara Morrow felt not just safe, but whole.